Hello my spider friends, I'm here today to talk about toxic relationships and toxic people because I needed reminding from one of my friends this week that it's okay to cut toxic people out of your life. If someone's hurting you, if someone's negatively impacting your life just from their presence, it's perfectly fine to cut that person out of your life. So I'm going to tell the story of another toxic person who I had to cut out of my life, and this person we are going to call Mark. Mark and I had been friends for a very long time. It was more than 10 years, but I couldn't recall the exact number. And we'd lost touch for a period, for about maybe 2 years. We just sort of lost touch with each other through moves and changes of phones and things. But we'd reconnected, and when we reconnected, he was in a relationship with a girl we'll call Lily. So Mark and Lily had been together when we reconnected as friends. At this point, they'd been together for about 18 months, nearly 2 years, and I really liked Lily. She was lovely. She was always very nice to me. She was always very welcoming. They seemed to have a good jokey relationship, but he would sometimes get frustrated with her not working. So years pass. We are friends, the three of us, but it came to a point where Mark, I would go around and we would both partake in the devil's lettuce. And we would sit in the garden, me and him, and chat while Lily was inside watching telly, and he started to complain about her a lot. So this went on for a few months, and I was trying to give him advice have you tried doing this? Have you thought about that? And things weren't improving in their relationship. He was starting to resent her. So I said to him, look, if you're really this unhappy in your relationship, then you need to break up. And he didn't. He put it off. And we were a year later, and he was still complaining about the same things. And I said to him, look, we're a year since you were at last the point when I said you want to think about breaking up because the relationship isn't working. It's becoming a toxic environment for the both of you. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. But then what he started to do was he started shopping around for who was going to be his next girlfriend. So he's still seeing Lily, but then he's propositioning about 4 or 5 different girls, asking them if they're going to sleep with him, myself included, asking various different questions. He wanted basically to secure a new girlfriend before we broke up with Lily. And I was like, I'm not comfortable with this, because I still liked Lily. I could see that they were bad for each other, and I could see that it really wasn't working as a relationship between two people, but I liked Lily, and I considered her a friend as well. She wasn't as close a friend to me as Mark was, but I did very much like Lily as a person. So eventually he broke up with her, and then pretty much immediately found himself in a new relationship. And then he went through, about 4 or 5 different girls in very quick succession, hitting on them, falling flat, in despair, moving on to the next person. And he was starting to make extremely uncomfortable sexual comments towards me. And I was still very much of the thing of I still consider myself friends with Lily, and you don't do that to your friends. You don't go out with your friends' exes. It's just not cricket. So I was getting uncomfortable. Now, at the same time, because me and Mark would partake in the devil's lettuce together, sometimes we would buy the lettuce together. And I noticed over a period of a year that he was starting to take more and more from me. He would call the greengrocer and say, I want to get £30 worth of lettuce, and £20 of that would be mine, £10 of it would be his, but we'd only end up with 2 bags that were identical amounts of lettuce, which, you know, I didn't think was particularly fair. And he'd done this a few times, and I didn't really say anything, even though I know I should, because I was like, well, this is one of my very good friends, and I really love this person, and we get on so well, and I was making excuses. I was making excuses for him because I didn't want to acknowledge that it was becoming a bad relationship. So not only would he do that kind of thing, he would also just like, I'd buy some lettuce, and then he would literally take like a quarter of my lettuce, for later, because he didn't have any lettuce. Like, he would buy his own, he would wait for me to buy the lettuce, and then he would just like use mine. And then he would he'd just tell lies about how much like lettuce cost, and I was getting sick of the skimming and outright blatant just stealing from me. And at this point he was living with a friend who was his housemate, who again, I very much like this lady. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah is, I'm still friends with her, a lovely girl, and she'd moved in with him because they were both coming out of like bad relationships, and they thought it'd be fun to like room together. But you know, he was starting to make sexual comments to her, like, oh, watch out, if you're getting undressed, I might come into your bedroom. That kind of terrifying thing. And his behaviour was becoming increasingly bad. And one point I'd gone round to his, and he said, right, I can only entertain you for an hour, I've got to go to work. And I was like, that's fine, I'll just jump on the bus. There's like a bus stop right outside. I'll just jump on the bus and go home. And he said, right, well, I need a shower before work, so you're going to have to come into the bathroom with me while I have a shower. I was like, qu'est-ce que c'est? He was trying to convince me that I needed to stand in the bathroom while he was having a shower so he could still talk. And it didn't matter if I saw him naked, because we were such good friends. And I was just like, this makes me very uncomfortable. And it reached a point when I said, enough is enough. And in this case, there wasn't a proverbial straw to break the camel's back. There wasn't like one big thing. It was lots and lots of little incidents, and it was a time where I was becoming a bit more sort of confident in myself, and I was just like, I need to stand up. I need to stand up and do a horrible thing that really is going to hurt me. So I sent him a very long text message, which basically said, I did actually try looking to see if I still had it on my phone, but I've changed phones since then. So it was probably all like on my old phone's text messages. Anyway, it said something along the lines of, like, these are all of the things that you've done, and I've given you a pass on this, thinking you were going through a difficult time, or this was happening, or that was happening, but I've finally like run out of excuses for you, and they're taking advantage of our friendship and the pressure that he was sort of putting on me to extend that into a sexual relationship, which I didn't want, I wasn't comfortable with, and like all of the thievery. And he sent me a voicemail in response, that was like, oh, I can't really read your text message right now because I've got like this really bad hair fever and my eyes are all swollen. But I love you, and you know I love you, and just forgive me, and blah 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 blah. But I held strong, and it really hurt me to do it, because unlike in like my previous video I mentioned the person Lolly, unlike in that situation, I was really resenting Lolly because she was being quite outwardly horrible towards me, whereas Mark was being, he was doing horrible things, but he was being charming. You know, like he would love bomb me like at least 3 or 4 times. Whenever I saw him, at least 3 or 4 times, he would say, I love you, I love you, I love you, all the time to me. I love you so much. Or like, you're lucky, I love you so much, that kind of thing. And it wasn't until later I kind of realised about the love bombing thing, because I don't think you do notice in the time. But I was definitely sort of charmed by him, so I cut him off completely. I didn't unfriend him on Facebook, and I didn't block his number. I was just like, I love you and I wish you the best in your life. I just can't be a part of it anymore. And I ran into him a couple of months later in a cafe, and he came over and he said hello, and I gave him like a hug because I missed him. And I was like, you know, like, it is nice to see you. I'm happy to see that you're doing well, but you can't come back. You can't come back into my life. And what happened after that was that I found out that he'd been like sort of sexually harassing his housemate Sarah so much, she ended up moving in with Mark's ex-girlfriend Lily, and they lived together for a while. Because and then they just bonded over the fact that he was a terrible person. I don't know where he is now. He disappeared off Facebook and other social media. I don't know if he's got the same phone number. I haven't heard from him in a long time. Like, if I saw him on the street, I wouldn't ignore him. I would be like civil towards him, but my foot would be firmly on the ground, in that he's not allowed to be a part of my life anymore. And it really hurt doing that, because I did love him as a friend. I loved him. He was such, I felt so close to him because we'd been friends for so long. But that relationship we became sour, and it wasn't good for me. So it had to end, even though it hurt me to do. And I really needed reminding of that this week, because there had to be another trimming of toxic people, and it's very much still hurting now, and I don't think it'll stop hurting for a long time. So won't be telling that story for a while, but that was today's story, and I hope we all learned something from it.